time for another round of Brandy. Candid conversations over cocktails about all things brand. With your hosts, Reilly Newman and Scott Saunders, the brand developers behind Motif Brands.
Welcome back to another round of Brandy. This episode is a little different than normal.
You know when, Riley, you know that there's sometimes, if you occasionally drink, and we do, because otherwise we wouldn't have this show, but you know that time when you just have like one of those moments you're like, I need a drink. And it's a figurative term. So even if you don't drink, you've in your mind, you've had those moments you go, I need a drink.
Right. Yep.
Felt like we needed to hit play on the microphones and get this stuff off our chest. And hopefully you might get something out of it. But what's the rant?
Yeah,
Riley?
and first off, kind of framing this, there's certain industries that we see where a lot of them have this tendency to kind of follow the leader or do things that are status quo. And just some industries that we've noticed aren't as willing as others to try new stuff or perhaps even do something that's a little more creative and leaning into brand. And one of these industries in particular is the winery industry.
Wine industry, which is fluent in our area.
And so I paint that picture, so this isn't just completely out of left field, but something that adds to the existing frustrations that we have with some of these brands. So wine industry for the last couple of years, if you don't know, has been very scared because consumption of wine has been slowly going down. And they've also, the younger generation just isn't drinking as much.
So are they drinking other things than wine?
Right, yeah. You have plenty of other options now. NA, non-alcoholic options are out there. They're maybe drinking whiskeys,
kombucha, hard
bourbons.
kombucha, all these other things that have over the last 5 or 6 years have kind of taken over more and wedging themselves into the alcohol industry, particularly into the wine industry.
Right. And so you see this in this pattern, and sometimes you notice that maybe a winery does something that's kind of desperate looking. They're trying so hard to get it.
Oh
and
my
even
gosh.
when I've talked to wineries, it's like, okay, it's not so much getting more people to drink wine, converting these non-drinkers or non-wine enthusiasts to drink wine. That's not the
make
point.
them winos.
And that's why I'm like, that to me is the wrong logic for any business. If you're PC, if you're Microsoft and you're forcing Apple users to use Microsoft, it's like, that's not the game. You're playing the game wrong. It's more getting the Microsoft users to use more Microsoft or to buy in different ways in different kind of packaging or different forms. Same thing with wine. It's like, get your wine drinkers to drink more wine or invest more, like we always talk about, is the lifetime value of that. So with all that being said, this winery released
that shall not be named.
That shall not be named.
We're not going to, because we're going to preface that we're not here to single out one brand, call them out on the brand, if it's a local brand or whatever. But we just wanted to, so we're going to keep this clean, no names involved, but we are going to, the rest is
factual.
Yes.
So they came out with this fanfare and PR and everything of, this new Gen Z focused tier of their membership.
Their wine club membership.
They named it, they priced it, they put it out there, and they're targeting Gen Z specifically. And to do so, they lowered the price, lowered the volume of wine that you get per month. I think it's just like one bottle. So
most shipments are, most wine clubs are like usually 4, like a 6 bottle or 4 bottle, right? Yeah. If you're looking at least twice a year.
And then they really stressed the experience side of it, because if you read anything in any business magazine, is that they talk about the experience.
That's the buzzword.
That's the buzzword, which if you know what we talk about, is that there is experience.
They're calling it out.
There is importance to it, but just saying the word, it's like when companies talk about culture. Like, it's like, okay, it's a nice buzzword, but it doesn't work. So they do that, and then on top of that, they stress this this really funny fact of there's no emails. It's all text based, and apparently that's what Gen Z wants, of no more emails and just do
that was like
text.
One of the big boasting features was that no emails. All communication will be done through text.
And the line of logic is going, okay, are they saying that Gen Z hasn't been drinking, these 20-year-olds haven't been drinking wine because they're getting emails? or they don't want to get
Right.
emails, so they're not
Because
signing
they're
up.
pitching on like this is their brand positioning. Part of their brand positioning for this thing is that that's going to be that means something, right? I've got two boys in that bracket, right? 25, 21, and they're understanding that their life up until that point has been text, right? They don't email their friends; they text their family members, their friends, everybody. It's all texting. But guess what? In the real working world, we don't necessarily function like that. So if anything, they're learning that they have to be checking their email occasionally because guess what? That's how a lot of the world works, particularly with a lot of things still. And it'll be quite some time before everything gets where we don't need email. But to just feel like that's the selling point, it was like there was no, it was just like, why is that even listed as being the big thing of why to reach Gen Z? It seemed desperate.
Here's part of the write-up.
Just read it.
The Fill in the Blank Club is a modern, digital-forward, experience-driven platform tailored specifically for Gen Z and young millennial consumers, featuring text-only communication, flexible structure, approachable single-bottle monthly selections under $40, and vibrant themed events. So I think what's challenging about this for me is that they're acting like it's innovative and they're acting like it's this big kind of value add, when I do agree that they're adjusting the platform of memberships to align more with a certain type of buyer. That's fine. That's totally fine. But this is no different than if they just started a new membership tier that was cheaper. It really is just they're chasing a price because a certain consumer, 20-year-olds who can barely pay rent aren't buying their more expensive membership tiers.
But what's the point of selling a membership tier when you're just selling one bottle of wine? Which is usually how they do shop. They need to be like, oh yes, is that one bottle for a year? Like, is that really? Then just sell them a bottle of wine. I think that the industry should look more about educating the young generation of particularly intrinsic value that comes with something like wine that you buy and you set aside. You don't drink right away. It's something you buy and you set it aside. A lot of times they'll need to be shelved for a couple years before they're going to be at their best. And then that's something they can look forward to they're just going about it all the wrong way.
Honestly, the only word that does come to mind is gimmicky because the club highlights include that they have this bulleted text-only communication, easy QR codes sign up, no emails, just text. And to me, that's a mode of communication. Just like they could have said, oh, this is only through physical mail, that we're only mailing out. You only get information through postal mail. And there's just no actual value added for the consumer. So then it's like, well, why are you doing it? The mode of the buyer, no matter what generation they're in, how do you identify this type of buyer and the place that they're in? And really the only thing they're doing here is just chasing the price down to then try to get them to buy the wine. And really, it's no different than winery X
but
just dropping their price.
What's the big selling point for why to buy the wine? Oh, because it'll just be through text.
Messaged.
They'll just be text messaged about stuff.
Which brands already do that. I get text messages from brands that I don't even know I signed up for them. And
I know,
and
then I'm supposed to unscribe.
Spam. Yeah.
I'm supposed to reply back to unscribe. I'm like, I never signed up to begin with.
It's just backwards to me, and I think that's the problem with it. And then I think it steps on other toes that I have of even I don't like the generational chasing, and I fear that now this, based off of comments I've seen from other wine industry leaders in our area, where they're kind of now eyeballing this model and going, oh, that looks interesting, huh? And so then you're going to get this follow the leader effect, which is prevalent in this industry.
Herd mentality. And we've taught the herd mentality doesn't work because your whole point of brand is to be distinctive.
Yeah.
And not see they're doing, we should try that too. Like that's going to be the magic pill.
Yeah. And, I could be totally wrong, but the best case scenario in this would be, they get early adopter, younger Gen Z and young millennials to sign up and trick them with the low price, get them in the door, right? Get them on their list, and then somehow this consumer will not only retain their membership over the years, but then upgrade along the way, and they'll just keep as their wine consumption increases or their appreciation for wine can increase, they'll buy more and more, which that could be possible if they educate and pour into the lifetime value of the consumer. So that's really the best case scenario, is that you start this, little seedling off and you raise them up and train them to buy more wine.
Right. But at the same time, also make sure that if most of your wine purchasing is from an older generation, right? The baby boomers, the Gen X. If that's where your most of your bigger purchases is coming from, then find ways to bring more value to them as wine club members, right? There's different things you can do that make it, and it could be, just finding new ways that you can encourage longevity of the memberships you have.
Well, and that's the problem with this, is that they're so focused on this younger generation, is that now hopefully they don't throw the baby out with the bathwater and just go, okay, we're all done with the older generations, and just focusing on this young one because they're the new thing, they're the hot new thing on the market. We need to do it, and it's like, okay, you have a lot of time, and the older generations are the ones who hold the wealth. They have the money to spend on this. They already appreciate the wine. They're already educated on it, and they're willing to invest more in that and experience more. And I did consulting for a boutique hotel, and they were in the same thing where they were like, we need to get on social media. We need to start reaching the younger audience. And based off of what I researched, it's like what they're selling, especially for boutique luxury things, and wine, I would say, needs to go more that way. That's where wine should be. Is that even in this hotel example, it's like it's so focused on this younger generation that would not pay the prices they were demanding. Even the influencers don't make that much money unless you're actually one of the ones in demand, and it just doesn't add up. It doesn't make any sense, rather than just leaning into the guests that you already have, or the wine members who are paying, who are retained, and they have now like really the sunk cost with the brand and the relationship, and you're able to pour more into that. So I think that's, a couple of issues I have with it. And one thing I did like about it is that this membership highlighted this specific winery has access to entertainment and venue and whatnot. And they highlighted that as part of the package, is I think they got access to tickets or something beforehand, which to me, they almost should have reverse engineered this and did like a Red Bull where they focused on the experience and then included the wine as a perk to that. Like Red Bull invests in these crazy events that people buy tickets for, like Vans with Warped Tour. They buy that, and then inside of that, the Trojan horse is then within that you have your product being sold and associated with this cool event, and you're not having to sacrifice price. And so I think with this, they should have led with that and led with the entertainment and lifestyle, because that's experiential.
I get it why businesses feel like in these wines are like, well, we need to raise up our next generation of consumer. I get that. I mean, that's kind of, to me, what I would consider the old church mentality, where if a church is, worship and audience primarily is just they keep catering to the older crowd, and that's all they focus on, then that older crowd is eventually going to die off, literally. And in this case, we're talking consumerism, so we're talking figuratively. And then where's that? Where's the younger families? Where's the young people that have brought new life into that and are then going to become your next generation of old, right? Right. Yeah. And I get that. So it's like, do that, but then don't, like you said, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. At the same time, don't focus just on the young crowd, again, that new one and ignore the older crowd. Because that's going to be a problem too. I think I see this all the time, particularly with even QR codes for restaurants to go out to eat, and the menu is, there's a sticker on the table, or here's a card, and with the QR code. And there was a time I went out to eat, and I left my phone in the car on purpose, because it was like, I don't want I don't want to deal with it. I don't want interruptions. I don't want that, And then to go, oh, well, I need that to see the menu. And then you go, well, I'm sorry, do you have a printed one? No, we don't. And so then I'm sitting there waiting. I can't even look at the menu until the other person's done with theirs. I feel like restaurants, everyone jumped onto it because it was easy and it seemed like it's next gen. Yeah, it's like, it's hip. And I get it for cost effectiveness, right? It's a lot cheaper to update and either have it, the QR code go to a PDF online somewhere or an online menu where you can easily swap out, things. I get that. But you also have to look at the experience and even the idea that you're coming into a restaurant to have a dining experience. There's that word again, but that's what it is. That involves the service, the food, the atmosphere, maybe the lighting, right? Everything that you're doing. And then and almost wanting to engage in the experience and get off their phones, but then you bring them right back in after they've been seated and they're sitting down getting comfortable. They've got to get sucked back into their phone to continue the experience. And that's where I feel like, again, it's a waste. It's not really thinking things through and it's following the herd mentality. Well, everyone's doing it. That doesn't mean it's a good thing. Right. There's lots of bad things that people, have become popular.
No. And it's funny because most of the benefits, if not all that you said about doing a QR code benefit the business. It's easier for them to update. It costs less. It's more effective or more efficient.
But it's clunky for the consumer.
And
super
right,
clunky.
yeah, and actually, and it's like as a restaurant, that's one major touch point that you have control over. That when you hand someone a menu, how that menu feels, how it reads, the experience of that says a lot. And your pricing structure of even aligning the certain products on there, so your offerings actually use pricing strategy.
Okay, same reason for the exact same thing. All of a sudden, this memory popped into my head, and again, I'm not going to point it out, but there's a particular very popular hamburger franchise. You walk in and there's a big display. Like basically you're going through a digital, it's like a couple big touch screens, right? Basically ordering online.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And then I'm looking at that and I'm looking and going, dude, I know what I want. And I look over and there's a guy like about 5 feet over the counter, and he's standing there, and he's clearly not the pickup area for when they're for orders that either pick up or delivery, right? He's clearly like there. He's got a register and everything. So I bypass. I walk out. I go, hey. I go, yeah. I'd like to place an order for dine-in. And he's like, well, did you use the pad? I'm like,
kiosk.
The kiosk? No, I didn't want to have to deal with that because I feel like I'm ordering online, which gets clunky anyway, and you cart and everything else. I'm like, I just want the classic hamburger, whatever, and a side of fries or whatever. And he's like, I understand if you've got two options. If there's a line or people would rather just do that, then what purpose does he serve? And can I just go with him, especially when there's it was just the weirdest.
So I was trying to be a good dad and trying to be fun, and we were on a road trip, and I was like, I'm going to stop and get the girls ice cream. And there was a McDonald's. And I was like, we never get a McDonald's. Sure, we'll stop and get one of the classic vanilla ice cream cones. And all it was, when you walk in, it was just pure kiosk. Unless you're paying with cash, I think it was, where you could go up because...
Taco Bell's like that too.
Yeah, no. And so I go up, I order just 2 ice creams, right? Which the ice creams, they're like $5 now. Like they're not 99 cents anymore. For the cone.
The soft serve.
Yeah.
You know how cheap
like,
that
I'm
stuff
not coming
is?
Back, right. And so then I put in the order. This family, a little family was before me. They had to use the kiosk as well. I do it, 2 ice creams. I'm like, okay, this will be quick. I'm waiting. It took 12, 15 minutes. And I'm like, why is this taking so long for 2 ice creams? Usually it's like right away. It's like getting a coffee at Starbucks. They turn around, they pull it out.
Back in the day when you were from registered, those things were right behind. They just turn around.
Here you go. And you walk off with it.
Yeah.
And I'm there. And then the family before me, they had a massive order. So they're doing that, which is all hamburgers, fries, and all like real food. And or real McDonald's
food.
not real food. And so then, but my ice creams, based off of the system that I had to abide by, made my ice creams, which were very simple and fast, actually, yes, efficient maybe for the orders, but actually more cumbersome as the customer, because those 2 things are quick little things that they could have just
like the manager, whoever's overseeing that. While that person's making the burgers, you've got a couple seconds to look ahead, going, oh hey, I'll take care of this.
Right. And I was like, that's so funny that, sure, system-wise, this probably aligns so well with McDonald's. They're ordering on the app, their drive-through, people coming in. It probably works so well on the system, on the computer side of it for them and efficiencies. But for the customer, it created a very poor experience where then I wasted 15 minutes waiting
To
for
just get
ice
two
creams.
soft serve cones, it would have literally taken probably 20 seconds.
Right.
To,
And so
to,
same
to,
thing with the
fulfill
QR
the
codes.
order
It's
and
like-
give it to you.
Yeah, and I think it's just, and even that, then it was like, oh, okay, now my experience with this, which I haven't been to McDonald's in years, now made me guaranteed I'm never going back because it was just overpriced, horrible customer experience, and it was just what it is. And same thing with the QR codes. It's like that alone, you're sacrificing so much for the sake of efficiency, yet it's not truly effective for the brand.
Yeah.
And so looking back around, it's like now, hopefully in the wine industry, we don't see this herd mentality of now going, oh, we need to target Gen Z. We gotta nail them down and get them to drink wine.
Well, and it's hard because I think that the idea is like, it's not, they're looking at going, we have to like get them to drink wine. It's more why your wine? Why, no, but why your wine? Right? Because guaranteed, like as soon as the next winery or two both have this same offer where the biggest selling point is we won't email you, we'll just text you. Then as soon as one or two other wineries do it, now the value of the offering is being projected is all the same. As opposed to why your wine.
I'm going to start a winery brand and have it just be Gen Z focused, where it'll be called like Delulu Wines or something. And it'll be like Skibbity Cab or and using all Gen Z language. But I think this is what I love about Dave Norton, and which he's actually an experienced strategist and his firm does that. But Dave Norton, he focuses on modes of customers. And this is the same thing that these wineries should be thinking in modes, not generations. This is why you can have someone who's part of the baby boomer generation, but still be in the same mode as a consumer, as a Gen Z. And so identifying these modes and understanding, okay, it goes beyond the age of the person, which is just that's way too broad of
That's
strokes.
a great point to make. Is that they pitch this as being a Gen Z
Specifically,
thing, and you could have a baby boomer that would rather have just texts and no emails, and I only want one bottle obligation, and leave it at that. Then they're outside of that demographic, and that's how you're communicating. So it's a missed audience that could be part of that.
No, they should have framed this thing as an educational. It's a dipping your toe into the pool of wine, and no matter your age, right? It's like it's a cost effective way that is educational. Hey, you're not committing to a bunch of bottles showing up at your house or having to go to these things, and you get access to some of this cool experience and events, and you get to ease into the pool of wine.
I'm cracking up because that just, when I think of a pool, I think of a public pool, and which is not the and then people putting their feet or toes in, and then it's wine. So I'm sitting there going,
They do
it's
that.
just, but it just, you said that and I started cracking up because I'm like, that just doesn't paint a really good picture in my mind.
It's just something that I'm like, okay, again, for effort, I think there's a great, they're trying to do something that stands out, and their use of experience and whatnot, albeit buzzy, but if they would have leaned into it in maybe a different way of educational or entertainment focused, I think that would have been more effective than just leaning into price and generation. I feel like those two things are the two things that you should never chase, is price and generation.
Yeah. Or even things like if you're trying to reach a particular demographic, right, then find some of these obscure, Gen Z artists, up and coming little, singer-songwriter artist type of people, and have some, musical events, doing things and bringing things in there that it becomes a place that they'll want a regular, right? And then give them option to, in other words, if all you do is tastings and bottle sales, but you don't sell wines by the glass, well, then maybe do that. Find other ways to capitalize on that.
Yeah. And, each demographic, each industry has its own little Rubik's Cube and puzzle to figure out whether that is affordability or what they actually see as valuable. And I would even argue that all affordability challenges are actually just value framing, is that it's a matter of changing the offering and aligning with the actual perceived value of what it is. And I think that's more of the issue rather than just going, oh, it's a generational thing. And I feel like it's just such a broad stroke. It's such a broad stroke to paint like people in your market into generations and very wide demographics, and then going, oh, that's it, right? Now that was the problem. We will stop doing emails and just do text messages. That will solve it. And it just seems short-sighted in many ways.
Well, I think, we got that off our chest. So thanks for letting us vent, and but hopefully you got some stuff out of it. Again, don't have a herd mentality, whatever you're doing with your brand.
Until next time, cheers.
Cheers.